Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of Doctor Who, The Android Invasion. You've got the Doctor Who logo there, you've got Android Invasion, you've got one of the androids, Tom, the Kroll. The Tom Baker years 1974 to 1981, PG, BBC, DVD at the top there. Similar sort of information on the spine. You've got the DVD video thing, Doctor Who, the Android Invasion, BBC, the relatively new logo, 2 Entertainment or whatever, the special features, the blurb of what's happening, and then the row of screenshots from the episode, as well as obviously the disc and the writer's notes / booklet. So yeah. Now, just after going over the packaging, I'll go over my thoughts on the actual episode. It's a really sort of odd one for me to wrap my head around, honestly. I think Android Invasion, because it's not a bad story, but it's not the best story. It's one of those episodes where it's just so sort of meh and sort of, for lack of a better term, run of the mill and that. And if anything, I find, I don't know if it's just me or if other Doctor Who fans relate to this, but I find it sometimes more difficult to talk about episodes like this than, say, really bad episodes or really good episodes, because this, as I say, has like a little bit of both. It's not one extreme or the other. I think it suffers from, unfortunately, something that like Genesis and Destiny. Oh no, not Genesis. Death of the Daleks and Destiny of the Daleks kind of suffer from, which is that it's sandwiched between two much better stories. But I think if it wasn't, then it would be more highly regarded, I think, and remembered more. But because of where it's placed between, if you don't already know, in season 13, so Tom's second series, it's sandwiched between Pyramids of Mars and The Brain of Morbius. And so it feels like one, tonally and thematically, and that it just feels different. It feels very much more like a season 12 episode. Even further back, going so far back to say that it even feels like a Pertwee story. And the main reason why I'm reviewing this is because, if you didn't already know, my previous review was of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, which was a Pertwee unit story, but they're both, that story and this story are both in a unit box set, so it just made sense. Logical conclusion was that this was going to be the next one that I watched and reviewed. And I first watched it on the Horror Channel, which I was happy about watching it there, and then I watched it a second time but didn't get all the way through this story and that, but I have today. And yeah, I think Tom Baker's really good in this. He's rock solid. It's Tom Baker. Likewise with Elizabeth Sladen. It was nice that she at one point saves him and that, and she makes the nice comment of like, oh yeah, makes a change, I'm saving you. But then there was like the cliffhanger, I think, of part 1, where then you see the disgusting weird thing of the Kroll, and I'm just like, really this episode, it feels like it should definitely be in season 12 in my opinion. And I was thinking about once upon a time, and even now I'm thinking about doing a video in front of the camera talking about why I think it should have been in season 12, and I'd be fascinated to know or why this episode was in season 13 as opposed to season 12, because it feels more like I think this would have been great as the second episode of season 12. Not to say that I don't like Ark in Space, but I'm just saying I think this could have worked as a good episode too, and then build up slowly to going into space, maybe, with the new Tom Baker era. It's by Terry Nation. It's the second episode that he ever did that doesn't feature the Daleks, first being Keys and Marinus, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, if it's the episode that I think it is, then not a lot of people like that one, I don't think. And that, I think this one's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me episode / I can kind of see why people would say it's underrated as a Doctor Who episode, but Yeah. But as I say, I think it's sandwiched between two much better stories, and even so, even season 13 even starts with a very similar episode with Terror of the Zygons, but a much stronger version of this. You know, this just feels like a bit of like a weaker version of Terror of the Zygons. I mean, I guess as a kid in the 70s, if you'd seen this one first and then watched Terror of the Zygons, then you might prefer this one, and vice versa. Um, you know, Terry Nation, yeah, as I say, he's doing finally another episode without the Daleks. It's pretty cool that they made him do that. It's very sort of Invasion of the Body Snatchers slash Cocoon, I think it is, with all those old people who then get replaced by like aliens or whatever. The countryside village thing kind of reminded me of like Amy's Choice, or Amy's Choice reminds me of this episode, obviously. Like that. Sarah's brilliant in this. I like Sarah, I like Elizabeth Sladen, and Tom's chemistry is just perfect. The Crawl are okay. I mean, they're very sort of just monster of the week. Meh. I think maybe they were the inspiration for the Judoon, maybe, because they're the only other species that I can think of that have a horn on their person and or nose, like say the Judoon and that. But yeah, what else? The androids are cool. I really like. I didn't like part one's cliffhanger, but I really liked part two's. If part two is the one that I think it is, which is the one where, spoiler alert, Sarah Jane is actually an android, or she falls to the ground and then it like a face falls off and then it's like revealed that she's an android. I just thought that was really cool, really creepy and weird. There is something unnerving about the people in the village, definitely. And I think part 1 and 2 are definitely the stronger parts of this story. Part 3 is definitely where it dips for me, and then part 4 it kind of picks up a bit again, but then it's just got the job of trying to wrap everything up and that. So yeah, you've got Unit in this story, but unfortunately, either Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier was either he was ill or he was filming some other TV show or film. But either way, he wasn't in this story, which I think is a bit of a letdown. Although Harry Sullivan and Sergeant Benton are in this, which again is a bit weird because again they kind of Terror of the Zygons kind of makes it out like that's it, that's the last Unit story, but then this kind of happens. So yeah. Another little interesting tidbit slash fun fact is that Barry Letts, the previous producer for Doctor Who during the Pertwee years, he's directing this one. It feels like a very, very small scale version of, or part of it feels like a small scale version of, like, say, Ambassadors of Death, maybe. Obviously not quite the same, because that's like pretty sure like a big 7-part epic or 6-7-part epic Bond-esque one, whereas this is more of a, as I say, a bit more of a atmospheric, creepier, smaller scale version of that, you know, with the Fourth Doctor and that. You know, and yeah, I like quite a bit of the comedy aspects to this one as well, with bits like, you know, you said finger loaded, you know, and the bits with, you know, ginger pop and all that, and yeah. Just trying to think of what else to say, really. I think the plan that Ogron has is just meh, is a bit crap, bit naff, really. The guy who gets betrayed by the Kroll and Stegron, or whatever his name is, whatever his face was, I thought he was a bit rubbish as well. Obviously love the title sequence in this one. Love the Tom Baker title sequence, it's definitely up there. What else? Just trying to think of what else to say, really. Don't mind the costumes for the Crawl, they're okay. The androids are pretty decent as well. Again, I think that's overall feeling to this story for me, at least. It just feels like a meh sort of story, just sort of run-of-the-mill, sort of, for lack of a better term, a 6 out of 10 sort of story. There's nothing like superb or massively memorable about the story. Maybe a few jokes, maybe if you watch this as a kid, maybe it is one of those quintessential episodes to you, and if so, more power to you. But for me, as I say, it's always just been a bit of a 6 out of 10 sort of story. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please do comment, rate, and subscribe.